Hi, welcome. I started the live because I know sometimes it takes a little while to link. No hot today?
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Something like nobody should.
Just waiting for others to enter.
Just right. What is this?
Hi, welcome. 6 20, that's Vishnu, right?
Yeah, hello?
Is that Vishnu? 6201643?
Yeah, that's Vishnu, yeah.
Hi, Vishnu. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. You have a bit of a headache.
You still have the headache?
Yeah,
Has it eased up a bit?
not really. I'm trying to drink water. I haven't taken anything yet, though.
It's just a constant.
Yeah,
Is your blood pressure okay?
I haven't checked it yet because I haven't even, I wouldn't even know where to find the machine right now.
I guess all the moving it's taking its toll.
Yeah, it's been pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Hi, Althea.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Can hear me?
Perfectly.
Let's see.
You are not hearing us. Hearing us now?
Hey, Althea, we can hear you.
I can hear you. I just need to know if you can hear me.
And I,
Yes,
I
we
said,
can hear
I
you.
said perfectly. Perfectly.
Okay. Hey, uh, check my sound.
Hi, Althea, we're hearing you just fine.
Right. They're looking better. Mm-hmm.
Mutila, can you say something? You sound distorted.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you. Much better. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, I was having some problems earlier, and I switched to another computer.
Oh, okay.
So, I'll keep Krishna.
Okay, here I am.
All right, Chris.
All right.
Sophia, but
You Heather's supposed to be coming, right?
they were quite a nice.
Really?
We must stick to will yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Aline.
Hi.
Altia. Oh, nice. On the bread, call Willard.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Loud and
Okay,
clear.
good. Okay.
You can hear me, but I think I have to go back and come out because I'm not seeing my the video. I'm not seeing it coming up as it normally does.
Okay, go.
Can you see me?
We're not seeing you, RT.
Okay, so I'm going to go back out and then come back into the group, right? I'm going to sign off and come back in.
Okay, do that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but we go start in a little while, in about next. Hi. Yeah. All right. Okay, RT, no videos yet. Vishnu, me. Okay, yes. Ten of us. Sure, what you doing?
What did you singing there, boy?
I don't know. It's some sort of distortion. I'm not seeing his mouth moving, so I don't.
Oh, Moti singing, Moti humming.
He was humming. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Humming.
Moti, are you humming?
He was.
Yes, I was humming.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if you get help Arti there. All
Okay,
right, Arti on.
yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Sing your Arti.
Uh-huh.
Gush,
I've seen members of the
make
family.
Arti owner and my co-host too, because my
Gush,
internet giving a bit of trouble over here.
Will do.
Gush, I've seen members of the family there. You can welcome them. Gush,
I'm not seeing anyone. If you let me know the names.
Ansias and Anna.
That's Harry's son.
Hi, welcome.
Harry's son is here. Harry's daughter is here.
Hi guys, hi Gisha, hi Mr. B.
Okay, so Willa just
All
came.
right, look,
It's
Willard is here.
Yeah.
Hi,
Right.
Willard.
Gisha, I just, if you don't mind, Gisha, I just wanted to test to see if, as I explained to you earlier, if I can just, tell me if you're hearing me, okay?
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just want to test the email and see if you're hearing me,
Yes.
okay? So
Yeah.
okay.
Welcome to.
Okay, are you hearing me?
Loud and
Are
clear.
you-
Oh, can
You're
you all hear
hearing
me? Good afternoon. You all can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, loud and clear.
This is Harry Charanaran's son.
Yes,
Okay,
welcome.
hello.
It's a pleasure
Right.
meeting
So Gisha,
everyone.
you're hearing me, okay?
Welcome.
All right. First time doing this, so give me a chance. I'm not familiar with stuff like this.
Yeah. So Gisha, are you hearing me?
Yes,
I am
we
hearing you, Willard.
Okay, fine, great. Thank you.
And if anyone in a position to kind of explain how that works and why it may or may not be suitable for Barbados. Okay, so I'll just kind of open with explaining to the listeners exactly what is a reverse mortgage. So let's say that you are someone who is retired. So you're in your 60s, you own your own home, you no longer have a mortgage for it. What you can do, if Barbados were to allow a reverse mortgage, is that you can pull out some of the equity.
Okay, it's 101. Do we have enough to get started?
We have 13 people. We have Arti, Arlene, Gusha. Alisa is not here as yet, but she down the
You have the
line.
first three. You have the first
Cynthia here,
three.
Vishnu here, Willard here, Altia here. Heather not is here as yet, but I expecting Heather.
You have the
Cassie.
first three items. Gush.
Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to stay on. I really don't feel well today. But I will certainly get started and hand over to Mutilal. And I've made a couple people co-hosts just in case the internet goes. You guys could continue the meeting, okay?
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Poetry and Prose. It is Sunday, October 13th. And for today, we have Mutilal Budu Singh, who has organized this meeting. Very special meeting to us. and he is also chairing our meeting today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Motilal. Motilal, the floor is all yours.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lucia, and welcome everybody. Today we are featuring The Cosmic Child by Hari Charan Narayan. And to tell us more about Hari, ask Arti Janki to tell us about the Hari, the author Hari Charan Narayan. Take it away, Arti.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So on behalf of on behalf of the family of Sri Haricharan Narayan, I want to thank you, Brother Motilal Budu Singh ji, especially for organizing the release of The Cosmic Child via poetry and prose today. In remembering him, I want to say in poetic language, Hari could not be here today. He moved on, leaving us behind to carry forward the dream. A sharp wit, a warm heart, honesty and integrity. The life of this teacher, writer, friend lingers with gratitude and appreciation. Friendship is a bond his generation and mine inherited. From the crossing of the Kalapani, the rough seas between India and Trinidad 3 months long. A brotherhood known amongst us as Jahaji Bhai, we have each other's back. Today's reading of The Cosmic Child brings the conversation I had with Hari close. We talked about India for a section of this book. We had also spoken before for an introductory piece for poetry and prose. Hari told me then about a childhood in the sugarcane fields of hard bargain before his father began to pull logs from the interior of the forest in Mayaro, after which the family relocated. His grateful heart blessed him with success. He moved easily from primary to secondary school, then applied for and was admitted to Mosika Teachers Training College. He graduated in time for the opening of the Mayaro Government Primary School, where he spent his teaching career. An avid reader, he saw an advertisement in the newspaper for stories. He immediately put pen to paper. The prestigious House of Macmillans in England accepted his story and sent him the manuscript to edit. It was 1977 when Days Gone By was first published. Macmillan described it merely as the story of a boy growing up in rural Trinidad. A second edition has been out, and it is hoped that this book will make its way into the syllabus for English literature among the young children. Hari's personality and charm ran over the words he wrote. On Facebook, he wrote, "Hey Wasa, I wonder if Mafikin will get some water tonight." Such a nice way to ask Wasa for water. Hari went on to write Heroes of Mayaro. On the subject of this book, Vishnu described Hari as a teacher, writer, and a hero to many. He said of the book, it makes us understand that there are heroes in our community. His idea of celebrating heroes was behind the publication of 2 books by the Shagwanas Borough Corporation titled Contributors to Nation Building. Several writers were called to a meeting for the 2nd edition. Hari came. He said no. He was a Mayaro boy and would stick to his hometown. I met Hari for the first time there and found him to be very interesting. But it was not until he was persuaded by Vishnu Gosain and Motilal Budu Singh to join poetry and prose that we truly became friends. He began to write The Big Fisherman, and for the second time became author of the month. We had read Days Gone By first. In the same vein of these two books, he wrote The Cosmic Child. Simple,
Cassie, join me now. We start already.
simple, holistic flow of words from a mind that thinks of spreading love
We are
throughout
going to see, all
humanity.
right, thanks. And look at what Cassie, but no, she's saying, thanks.
Hari had chosen Sri Satya Sai Baba for his godfather. He started a monthly satsang at his home where families would gather to sing and chant to blissful music. The art of singing and playing musical instrument were in this way passed down to children in such a home that is an institution of learning. In The Big Fisherman, Hari tells us about a young teenage boy who loses his father suddenly. With a mother and sister to provide for, he leaves secondary school and found a way to take over his father's role as provider. The hero became a fisherman with a difference. He paid fair wages, shared his profits, and went on to receive the sea's bounty with big catches. He then purchased lottery tickets, which he won every time. There too, we see the cosmic child, a child that grew into a man to find healing and a new life from the brink of death. It is said that you can only truly know a writer by his work. In the silence required to write, we find out our true, authentic voices. Just a few days ago, I managed to delete thousands of emails. It brought me to the emails Hari had sent. When he asked me if I received them, I said yes, not knowing that he had sent more on an almost daily basis. He had forwarded those specially selected from his readings. I understood that he read as passionately as I did. Hari's legacy is his personality. It is interlaced in the books he has left behind. It is his gift to us. On behalf of his family, I want to thank you all for featuring the Cosmic Child and remembering Hari today. Thank you.
Thank you, Harity, and you have reflected exactly what every member of Poetry and Prose would want to say. Only you have done so more eloquently than most of us might have done. So thank you again. And we have quite a lot of readings today, so we want to get into it as quick as possible. So I now ask Aline Pina, Puyo Pina, to read extract 1, Maha Saha. Aline, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Mama, Saha, an invoice. Mama was nursing me as she sat on the couch watching a movie on the television. The fan was whirling away, cooling the warm living room, and I was resting comfortably in Mama's arms. I looked at my loving mother and smiled. This pleased her greatly as she too smiled and kissed me on the forehead. What great love a mother has for a baby. My little sugar plumsy, she whispered lovingly. Suddenly from within me, I heard an inner voice, whispering as if it were the creative sound of the universe. No more of Mama's milk for you, Saha. Now, get up and walk. Soft commands is requested from the invoice. Instantly, I obeyed and turned my head. Mama knew I had enough as she fixed her clothes and put me to sit on the couch. I managed to slide off the big chair and landed on my feet, standing and holding onto it for support. With a great effort, I made a step forward and fell. Mama was looking on with anxiety. I got up and made a few steps and landed on my butt again. Again, I got up and began to run. Mama got up quickly and lifted me off the floor. Oh, shouted Mama, my baby is barely 6 months and he's walking already. You're my sweet little sugar plum. She hugged me tightly and smothered me with kisses. Suddenly, my world changed and a certain consciousness dawned upon me. So the woman hugging me is my mother, who seemed to be very familiar from a distant past. She was a doting mother and had endured great pain to bring me into this world. On the TV stand were 2 framed pictures. One was a couple which I assumed was my mother and father, and the other one was with Mama and me as a tiny baby. I never knew my father. He had passed away suddenly in a car accident. Consequently, I did not experience the love of my father. Later, I learned that the insurance company had paid a tiny sum to Mama. Mama used that money wisely. I was everything to her, and she was everything to me. At the age of 6 months, I began to walk, and I could utter only a few words, but I knew what I wanted and would point to the objects that I desire. I could not express myself in language. I knew that I was an infant and that all my activities were very limited. While Mama looked at her favorite movie, I went for my motorbike, sat on it, and pushed it along with my feet. I had a lot of fun with this story as I rode it in the living room. It gave me a certain amount of freedom, which I enjoyed. Mama had shifted all the furniture to make room for me to ride it there. I was a kid, so let me do what a kid do and enjoy this life. And when I got tired, I went to my baby book, looked at the colorful pictures and scribbled on the pages with crayons and tore out a few pages. I laughed aloud and Mama looked at me disapprovingly, as if to say, naughty boy. I knew that I was being naughty by tearing off pages, but I was acting like a normal kid. Mama made no comment, but only smiled. Later, Mama had fed me a crushed banana, which I enjoyed. I took the spoon from her and tried to feed myself, but made a total mess. She only smiled and cleaned the mess I made. In the evening, she mixed some powdered milk and some cereal, and this tasted awful. But I had my fill. I no longer wanted Mama's milk, and that mixture was an alternative. At about 8 p.m., Mama and I retired for the day. We slept on the same bed. She sang the Gayatri mantra and another prayer while patting me on the back. Moments later, I fell asleep and woke up at 5:30 a.m. with the invoice chanting and telling me to wake up. Mama was still asleep, and I looked at her lovingly as she was my mother and protector in the absence of a father. Said the invoice, "That mother of yours was your nanny, grandmother, in a previous life. She had loved you very much and wished you were her son. And in this birth, her wish has been fulfilled." In my mind, I understood everything, but the expression in language was lacking. Sometimes that made me irritable. So my nanny is now my mama. Well, so be it. It was so much better. I would get double dose of loving. "Saha, you're an angel," said Mama sweetly. "You don't give me any trouble. You don't cry. You sleep through the entire night." I wondered what she meant by that. Do other babies cry a lot and do not sleep through the entire night? I wonder what an angel was. And I surmised it must be something good, as Mama compared me to one of them. My baby teeth began to sprout, and Mama was delightful. She inserted a finger in my mouth to test the sharpness of the sires and closed my mouth. I closed my mouth. "Ouch!" Mama let out a stifled scream. I giggled, but she did not scold me. Instead, she hugged me as she could not resist her little angel and sugar plum. Some time ago, I had seen something resembling a tiny crab and picked it up by one of its legs and ran towards Mama to show her. Mama screamed and nearly fainted. I picked up a scorpion. By her reaction, I knew that I had done something terribly bad. I dropped the creature and it began to scamper away. Mama pulled me aside and took a stick and beat the creature to a pulp. She grabbed me and went into the house, visibly shaken. I said to myself, that little creature must have been very dangerous for Mama to have become so agitated and violent. Don't worry your little head, interrupted the invoice. The Creator has a plan for every living thing in this world. It's a good thing that the scorpion did not sting you, but again, you have special protection. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Arlene. You know, always a pleasure hearing you. We just love to have our overseas participants. Thank you again. And moving right along, I now ask Alicia Lawrence to read extract number 3, Cynthia. Alicia, come in, please.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Cindy.
Good evening, Alicia.
Yes, Cindy is the name of this extract. Says, I was the youngest student in school, not yet 11, but no one knew because I was about average height. And most students were unaware of my performance at the examination until it was announced during the Monday morning assembly. Since then, I became very popular, much to the annoyance of Cindy, who was always in my company. Then, too, we were in the same form. My primary school work was very simple. That of the secondary school was so different, maybe because of my intelligence, the invoice, and my meditation sessions. That first day before attending my new school in the early morning, I did another 2-hour intense session of meditation, which opened up new vistas in life. There was no time to romp with the other mystical kids. My intellect was becoming sharper, and this made me way ahead of my fellow students. On a certain day, my math teacher was working out a problem about a theorem. At the end, he wrote QED and then asked what the letters meant. He replied, which was to be proved. Questioned further, I remarked, sir, it does not match the letters QED. Well, said the teacher, do you know what they really represent? Yes. Then why not tell the class? Okay, I said. The abbreviation QED stands for Quod Erat Demonstrandum, and that's Latin. The class applauded me. My teacher seemed to cringe, though I did not want to embarrass him. Yes, Saha is correct. I just forgot the Latin words, Sue said to avoid embarrassment. During the luncheon break, Cindy and a few friends were with me. Said Cindy, Saha, it looks like you know more than the teacher. I smiled and said, Cindy, how can I know more than the teacher? He is trained in his work. He is the teacher, and I am just a student, just a boy. Cindy ate part of my lunch, and she gave me a piece of her chocolate. Again, I ate sparingly. The sun and air seemed to provide part of my sustenance. Cindy was a very pretty girl, and boys were admiring her. One senior boy plucked up courage and approached her, saying, Come, Cindy, come with me. While the boy held her hand, Cindy held on to my hand. I said to come with me, shouted the senior boy. Look, pal, I said softly. Cindy does not want to go with you. Why don't you leave her alone? My words incensed the intruder. Shut your mouth or I will bust it, he yelled. The senior released Cindy's hand and turned his attention to me. You are a pipsqueak, and I will break your bones. Nobody dares to insult me. I will teach you a lesson, he shouted. Said the invoice. Stand firm. Don't be afraid. Stand your ground. He is a big bully, and it's your duty to teach him a lesson he will never forget. I've always been protected, and the invoice was always giving me sound advice. I faced the bully with a stern countenance. The senior boy swung a heavy fist at me. Quickly, I made a step backwards, and his fist came into contact with a concrete wall. The impact caused the wall to vibrate, and he to scream in terrible pain. Blood flowed from his hand as he held it with his other hand. He was howling and screaming. Because of all the noise, many students had gathered. At first, some just looked on and laughed because of his bullying attitude, his big mouth, and his big ego. After some anxious moments, they took him to the office, from where he was taken to the nearby health facility. His hand was x-rayed and bandaged. He was diagnosed with some cracked metacarpals. The next day, his mother visited the school to inquire and to complain. But when she was told the truth about the incident, she was totally embarrassed. And because of the injury, her son had to stay at home for 2 weeks to recuperate. Some people learn only after a most difficult experience. Cindy looked at me and smiled. Saha, you were a hero in the primary school, and now you are a hero in the secondary school. You will always be my hero. Maybe I should call you Mr. Hero. I smiled. Cindy was my #1 admirer after my mother. One evening, Cindy came over to get some assistance with her homework. Having completed, she stood up, came from behind, and hugged me. She bit me on the ear and kissed me. That was totally unexpected. Mama saw the encounter, but said nothing at the moment. We chatted on certain school matters, and then she left for home. At dinner, Mama brought up the subject. What's up with that girl? She's behaving like a woman. Mama, I replied, I was just helping her with her homework. I didn't expect her to do such a thing. I was very embarrassed. Well, no more hanky-panky, she said in conclusion, or she may have to stop coming here. I shuddered at Mama's remarks because I enjoyed Cindy's company. Later, the invoice spoke. Saha, listen carefully. In your past life, Cindy was your wife and devoted companion. Then both of you promised undying love for each other. If you wish to marry, you must choose her as your wife. That is, if you wish to marry. She loves you very much. She is unaware of her past life, but her natural affections for you is a tendency brought over. Don't distance yourself from her. You are destined for great things, and you must continue on the path. During lunch one day, Cindy asked, Saha, what will you do later in life? To which I replied, I'm not sure yet. I have lots of time. Cindy continued, I know what I will do. After exams, I will find a job, and later I will get married. Cindy stared at me for a few moments and said, Did you hear what I said? I said I will get married. I heard. What do you want me to say? Eh? I smiled playfully. Saha, we have been friends since primary school days, and now we have one more year at secondary school. Don't I mean anything to you? Said Cindy with much emotion. Of course, I said. Cindy, you mean a great deal to me. I remembered what the invoice said. If I have to marry, I must marry Cindy. For in a previous birth, we had committed ourselves to undying love. Do you want to say anything more, Saha? Asked Cindy, looking straight at me. Yes. Have you ever heard this song? I think it was sung by an American, but I forgot his name. Please sing it for me, very, very sweetly. I sang very softly so others would not hear. I began, Cindy, oh Cindy, don't let me down. Write me the letter soon, and I'll be homeward bound. I joined the Navy to see the world, but nowhere could I find a girl as sweet as Sydney, the girl I left behind. Sydney began to cry. I went and hugged her, and to console her, please don't cry, Cindy. Our future is bound together, and I know you love me very much there, I said softly. Quickly, she composed herself, and we returned to work to complete some simple task.
Tidy.
The end.
Thank you, Alisa, as we journey through the book and we see the budding love. You know, I remember that song when I was a little boy, and I suppose the older people remember. Cindy, oh Cindy, Cindy, don't let me down. Write me a letter soon, and I'd be homeward bound. Join the Navy to see the world, but nowhere could I find a girl of sweeter Cindy. The girl. Thank you for indulging me, and we have a lot of readers. So moving right along, I'd like to ask Cynthia M. Birch to do extract for Rohini. Yes, Cynthia, take it away.
Thank you, Rohini. The day dawned for my departure from my motherland. It was a time of anxiety and a time of new adventures in my life. Traveling abroad is good and exciting and broadens one's experience. In other ways, it is educational, fascinating, and a bit of an adventure. Bhagwan bless you always, my son, Mama said among tears. Cindy could not speak. She cried continuously. It was then I wondered whether I had made the right decision by going abroad. 6 hours of flying and the plane landed on American soil. I was amazed at the sight of the superstructure. The campus was sprawling with manicured grounds comprising of several acres and several concrete edifices. Flowering trees dotted the landscape. It was very beautiful. One could get lost within the campus if not familiar with the location of the specific building where one's class was. On the first day of the semester, I was introduced as a bright boy from the Caribbean, Master Sahadeo said. I was amazed at the various ethnicities of the student body. Whites, blacks, Indians, Chinese, Japanese, and others whom I could not understand, could not distinguish. Later, I would have to interact with all these young people. I must understand that they had been chosen because of their superior academic performances and that I must not underestimate them. It was a cluster of minds and possibly potential professors and Nobel laureates, and it would be great to learn some of their customs and exchange ideas. Education has multiple facets, and I was thrilled and fascinated by their ideas and experiences. Work was quite simple at first. Later we were introduced as the sorry. Later we were introduced to advanced studies. Then again, the invoice and my meditation sessions gave me insight so that my intellectual capacity was way ahead of my peers, even that of the lecturers. One day my lecturer was trying to solve a math problem at the board, and he seemed to be in some difficulty. I interjected, "Sir, may I try to help out?" No reply. He paused and looked at me. He said, "This is a very tricky problem. It's very difficult, and I'm certain this is beyond your capacity." "Sir, I believe that you are using the wrong formula," I pointed out. "How do you know?" asked the lecturer in a gruff voice. "Have you done this before?" "Let me try to solve it, sir," I said. He challenged me to come forward and give it a try. I took a brisk walk to the front and on a different section of the board wrote down a different formula, applied it, and presto, problem was solved. I received a hearty round of applause from my group. The lecturer was totally embarrassed. Totally embarrassing. The student teaching the teacher. Said he, "Yes, I was using the wrong formula, and thanks." At break time, my fellow students showered me with praises because of the little encounter with the lecturer and how quickly I had solved the math problem. I smiled. As I saw it, problems were just problems to be solved. "We would like you to be our group leader," announced a female student in a foreign accent. She said that she was an Indian from India, of course. Her name was Rohini. I told her that I was a Trinidadian of Indian origin. Rohini was unaware of the history of the Indians living in the Caribbean. She took the opportunity to invite me to the Indian Cultural Forum on the campus. It was a forum to promote Indian culture. I agreed to join the society. She had a good command of the English language, having been taught the language in her country. She mentioned that almost all schools in India taught English. Rohini was spending lots of time with me, and that could pose a problem in my relationship with my Cindy. I hoped she would not expect much in return, and that it was only a flirtatious experience. Her discipline was economics. The end of the first semester and the first year were taken all in stride. My examinations came and went. All my grades were A+. Part of the package from the university was a return ticket to Trinidad twice per year. Rohini went to her homeland in India, and we parted ways for a while. When the plane touched down at Piarco, it was chaos at the airport because of the heavy traffic, and to greet me were Mama, Uncle, and Cindy. Both women shed tears of joy on seeing me. Cindy hugged me and did not want to release her hold. When in grief, time is very, very long, but when there is joy, time is fleeting. It pleases the mind, senses, and emotions to see familiar faces again, especially loved ones. My educational pursuit at the foreign university had occupied my time and thoughts so as to temporarily forget things in my homeland. I had a few months to make up for it. Cindy could not be any happier in my company. She chatted endlessly, mainly asking numerous questions about my stay abroad. "Did you meet some good people, Saha?" she asked. "Sure I did. Everybody was nice and friendly," I replied. "What about girls?" I had to tread carefully there. I did not want to be cornered. A momentary pause. Cindy looked at me and asked, "What's the problem? Have you met someone over there? Why are you not answering me, Saha?" "Well," I said, "there are many girls, but no one special." "Are you telling me the truth, Saha?" Cindy was probing. "You see, my dear Cindy," I spoke slowly, "I am the most brilliant student by far, and have become very popular, and many of them would gravitate towards me. That's the situation." I dared not mention Rohini. That would send Cindy's head spinning out of control. Cindy was worried and insecure. She came closer, held on to me, and kissed me. I was taken aback by this sudden and intimate, loving gesture. "What about you, Cindy?" I asked. "Have you met new friends at work?" "Hey," Cindy continued, "let me take you back many years ago, back to primary school and the infant class. You remember? Miss had asked you to sing for the class, and you rendered that song so beautifully that you charmed that little girl. That day I had made a very bold statement. It was a vow. I told Miss that when I grew up I would marry you, and I will surely do so. You remember?" "Ah, yes," I said, "I remember the incident. Our childhood days were so sweet, and you were always a part of the landscape, the very beautiful landscape." I held Cindy's hand. It was soft. "What kind of work do you do, Cindy?" "Mostly on the computer in the office," was the reply. "I am an assistant to the secretary. I have taken several courses in computer literacy to prepare myself for the workplace." "Very good," I said. "You did well, Cindy." Soon I had to go abroad again, and my departure would cause some distress. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. That's an excellent read, and you have taken us into some of the complications that comes into our hero Saha's lives. So I'm sure that everybody is, eagerly waiting for the next episode. I just want to say that when we do the other episode, we'll stop for a while, we'll reach halfway mark, and we'll invite some comments. So right now, I want to call on Vishnu Gosain, and Vishnu will tell us about Rohini and India. Come in, Vish. Vishnu. Vishnu.
Wish. Oh, all right, good.
Vishnu, get in your video, let me see.
Yes, he unmuted.
That's spotlights, right, Vish? Thanks. Go ahead.
Okay. So my piece is called Rohini and India. Later, Rohini dropped by and there was more excitement. Namaste, she greeted me. I returned the greeting. Both of us drifted apart from the group. Said Rohini, I told my parents about you and my father would like to meet with you. Easier said than done, I said. We are so distant from each other. What is that? I thought to myself. Why does a father want to meet with me? Be wary, Saha. We talked some more about the vacation and some of the activity we had engaged in. I met Rohini on the way. I have good news for you, Saha, beamed Rohini. My father said that you can come to India with me. He will pay for your ticket and you can stay with us at home. We have a large house in India. Well, that's great, I said. But I can't go until I get my mother's permission. She's expecting me home. Why don't you call her? She asked impatiently. My father wants to know so that he can purchase your ticket. Well, I have good news to tell you, Rohini, I mentioned. I had just got news that I have been awarded my Bachelor of Degree for my performance. That really is good news, said Rohini. But you deserve it. Call your mother and ask her for permission and hurry up. Let me know by tomorrow, okay? Sure, I replied. That night I called Mama and gave her the news of my degree and my fabulous prize-winning paper. She was ecstatic. Then I told her Rohini's father's offer of a visit to India. Mama was silent for a while. Do you think it's a good idea, Peter? Well, I said, it seems so. I get to go to India free and I will stay in her father's house. And what do they expect of you? Asked Mama. I don't know. Nothing, I guess. And it'll be only for 2 weeks. Well, you decide, said Mama. If you wish to go, go ahead. You have my blessings, but hurry back. Cindy waited. Yes, Cindy, I thought. After giving it some serious thought, I said, what the heck? I shall go to India and absorb the atmosphere of my ancestral land. And the inner voice spoke. It's a good idea to travel to India, Saha, but there are implications that may disturb you. Just be careful and enjoy the jaunt. Well, I said to myself, that's it. I shall go to India. I called Mama and informed her of my decision. Mama, I have decided to go to India. May Bhagwan bless you and keep you safe, was Mama's blessings. Then I told Rohini that I would accompany her to India. There was a joy in her words of my decision to go to India. Rohini and I boarded the American Airlines flight to London. We stayed at Heathrow Airport for a few hours, during which time we were met by some of Rohini's cousins who were living in London. They stayed with us until we boarded our connecting flight to India. It was an Air India plane. India. Bharat, Hindustan, the land of gods and goddesses, the land of the rishis and munis, the land of spirituality, and the land of the most ancient living culture. It is my ancestral land. We sat for quite some time on the long flight. Some Indian delicacies were served. I read Indian magazines, and the colorful landscape intrigued me. And I told Rohini of the Indian diaspora that led Indians to Trinidad and other countries. She was unaware of that section of Indian history and the impact it had on the economies of the various countries. Many hours later, the plane touched down at the airport at New Delhi at night. There were moments of great expectations that were filled with emotion. I glanced at the magnificent airport and the people. Notices were written in Hindi and English. I stared at everything in astonishment. I was on Indian soil. It seemed that I was in a different world. It looked so different to my home country. A great-great-grandson had come to visit the mother. Rohini led me through the airport and the waiting arms of her father. The father was short, rather fat, and sported a long mustache. He wore a gray suit. We were introduced, and her father shook both my hands. With a broad smile, Mr. Malhotra said, "Welcome to India, Beta, and you may enjoy your stay here." The chauffeur servant drove carefully for some time and stopped in front of a large house at an upscale district. Rohini lived in Green Park, where the elite lived. Another servant opened the large metal gates and the car was driven inside. Rohini's mother and brother were at home to greet us. She was dressed in a sari. I could have seen her smile and eyes that firmly, strongly approved of me. And Rohini warned them, "Mom, Saha can speak Hindi and English very well. So watch your words." I smiled, and they all smiled. Mrs. Malhotra spoke in Hindi. "And where are you from, Beta?" "I am from Trinidad, a little island far off in the Caribbean, the same place Brian Lara is from. You know about Brian Lara?" Yes, she said. Everybody knows about Brian Lara, the famous cricketer, and Vidya Naipaul too, the world-famous author and Nobel laureate. Yes, so many very famous people coming from such a tiny country. I felt proud of my country. We had found a niche in the international arena. The family lived in a 3-story building, but the top floor was incomplete. It was spacious, decorated with expensive furniture. I was given some light refreshments as it was very late at night. Rohini's brother, Adesh, took me upstairs to the 3rd floor and to my room. Though incomplete, there was one large room en suite. I was alone in that rooftop. I peeped outside and could only see the lights of numerous houses in Green Park. I was in a strange place, and the atmosphere felt different. I was emotionally disturbed as nostalgic feelings pervaded my emotions. I took my cell phone and called Mama. There was an immediate response. "Hi, Mama," I said. "I'm in India." Mama was so glad to hear from me. "Saha, are you all right? Is everything okay?" "Yes, Mama, I am okay. May Bhagwan always bless you, son." And she began to cry. "Don't worry, Mama," I reassured her. "I shall be coming home very soon." "Good night, son," she said. "And God protect you always." The call was short because of the high cost. I fell asleep after some restless moments. Later in the week, Mr. Malhotra and his wife took me to lunch at the posh Shiv Sagar restaurant. I wondered why they did not take the entire family. It was a very beautiful place, clean and with soft classical music in the background. As we ate, we chatted. Mr. Malhotra spoke. Saha, what do you intend to do after graduating from university? Well, I said, no plans, no future, so far. And he continued, India is a vast country with lots of opportunities for a brilliant young son such as you. So he was inviting me to stay in India, and I wondered why. And if you wish, you can work for me, he said. I own a steel mill. I chewed slowly. I expected the bombshell. Mrs. Malhotra interjected. Rohini is very fond of you, and if you love her, you know. And Mr. Malhotra butted in. Both of you can get married. That was the bombshell. I stared at my plate of food. So, that was the reason why I was invited to India. It seemed that I was good husband material. I thought for a while. And they stared at me as if waiting for an answer. I must speak up. I spoke carefully. You see, I am very grateful to you all for inviting me to India and into your home. But I am not yet 20, and getting married at this young age can complicate things. Then I must inform my mother of such an important step in my life. Yes, said Mr. Malhotra, we understand, but you don't have to make a decision right now. We want Rohini to marry a very good boy, and you seem to be well suited. And when she was small, the pundit made a prediction that she would fall in love with someone from a far-off country. Ah, yes, I thought. He said, fall in love, not marry. Very interesting. The invoice warned that I should get married. I must marry Cindy because of past karma. I must extricate myself from this sticky situation. I mustered enough courage to reply, Rohini is such a wonderful young woman and with intelligence. Her beauty is stunning. But I shall reserve my decision for a later date and in consultation with my mother. You see, everything I do must have her blessings, as I grew up without a father. We understand, said Mr. Malhotra. You are a very good boy and very intelligent. Let's finish our lunch. I ate sparingly, a bit disturbed by the proposal. I smiled. I was in India as a guest. I did not want to hurt the feelings of my host. You must understand my situation, I added. I could not mention anything about Cindy and our relationship, as it would have been a disaster to do so. Sure, said Mrs. Malhotra. You see, people in India can be married at a young age, she continued. Look at it. I thoroughly enjoyed my final days in India and heartily thanked my host, especially Rohini. In the company of Rohini, I seem to have forgotten Cindy. On the final day, I was taken to the airport in the Ambassador, accompanied by Rohini and her parents, amidst the bustling traffic. I thank them again for their generosity and for royal treatment. Rohini hugged me, and I saw a tear. I said goodbye to a wonderful family and to India, my ancestral land, a wonderful country. the sights and sounds of India would be imprinted in my memory for a long time. But it seemed that I did not belong. Thank you for allowing me to read. That's my piece.
Thank you, Vishnu. That the plot thickens here. The plot thickens. So we'll just pause here for a while and invite some brief comments until we continue. So right now the floor is open for comments.
Hey, good evening, panel. Mr. Gusain, this is Haricharan Narayan's son. I met you Saturday. You can hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, nice seeing you again. I'm Mr. Budu Singh.
Hi.
Nice seeing you and the whole panel, everyone. And I appreciate all you all doing for my dad in his book. He tried to save the world in the end with the cancer. You know, he had cancer, and in this last book that he did, The Cosmic Child, he made a plan to save the world, but no one is heeding the plan. That's why the world is in a mess. He tried to help the world, but it was too late. But it's still in his book. The host has spotlighted it. All right. So, I mean, the whole world is in a big mess. But no one is listening. You know, I don't know, man. But we all trying. Everybody got to try and see what happens. But his book, before he died, he tried to help the people in the world to live a good life and upgrade themselves. No one is listening. Nobody's healing. It's only you guys are healing, listening. You need to be in government. You all need to be in the government and help the world. Everybody's greedy and everybody's for themselves, and it's a dog-eat-dog world right now. No one cares for anyone again. We need good people, but it's not simple again. The world is in a big mess.
Thank you, Zeus. Your father was an inspiration to all the members in the group because there were times when he was ill and he'd still come on to read with us. And then later on he says, I will read, but I would not do my video because I'm not well, I'm not looking well. So we all admired his courage and he was indeed an inspiration to us. So thank you again. Okay. Any other comments, please?
Yeah. What I love about this work is the fact that he is writing about a very important concept, reincarnation, and doing it is such a creative way of doing it through the eyes of this young child and this baby, really. I mean, I've read about reincarnation just from adults suddenly realizing that they have had a past life. But suddenly you're sort of like through the innocence and discovering life, not only life as a baby, but life as this person who has had a past life, and then connecting with the invoice, the inner self. It's such a beautiful story, and it's just a beautiful way of approaching this subject, that introducing people who may not believe. I mean, I'm a believer, so that's why I found it just absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much for him writing this story. Yeah.
Can I make one more comment on the book?
Sure.
He did. Well, I was away for 23 years in Florida, so I was not home most of the time. But he kind of surprised me with the last book. But when I read the book, I knew what was where he got a story from. So that same reincarnation thing. Let me tell you the story. He didn't explain this to me, but I read the book and I know exactly what he was thinking. I'm his son. It's the story of the Satya Sai Baba. That's the starting of Satya Sai Baba. He was reincarnated. He knew who he came from in the past, and he spoke about it in all his books. And that's where my father got the inspiration to write this book. And he had that power with he had powers from some like an angel to create and do stuff what he wanted, whatever he wanted in life. He could have get it, and that's what the Sai Baba story was, Satya Sai Baba. And he took that inspiration from Satya Sai Baba and he made this book, and he plus fictional stuff also. But the main thing was from the Satya Sai Baba story, and he implemented the book with it. He didn't explain that to me, but when I read the book, I exactly knew what was happening. But I knew the whole story with everything, the Satya Sai Baba and my father and everything. So it's a very deep, interesting book. And again, he was trying to help the world, and that's his legacy in the end, before he died. It will live
Okay,
on
thank
forever.
you.
All right.
Thank you. Harry, Harry mentioned in his book that when he wanted to write about the experiences in India, that you helped him a lot. He consulted with you. Would you like to comment on that?
Me?
Arti, are you there? You have to unmute Arti.
Okay, you can hear me now, right?
Yes, hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so yes, I did talk to him during that period of time to get the settings in India clear. But one thing I understand with Harry is that he believes in miracles, and I know it well because I do too. You see, people who come from homes like us with 12, 15, 18 children and so on, and how hard we saw people work to come out on top. And having achieved so much, there is a miracle that we see in our lives. And Harry's writing is very holistic in that form, that it is his generosity of heart that he wants people to be like this, and he wants to believe in this kind of miracles, that people can live this life. And if you have faith, these great things can happen to you. So, in all his work, I have seen that he has written with a great deal of positive energy. And that is the brand that Harry has left behind for us.
Okay, thank you, Arti. Anybody else want to comment?
Well, my question is the book purely fiction, or is it semi-autobiographical, or yeah, so that is my question.
Okay, Arti, you want to take that?
I think it is a novel that he set out to write. It is one of
Okay,
the
so
many
it's
one of the many stories that he was going to tell us, and books that he was going to write, but then he fell sick.
okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's all fiction.
It is. It is. It is a creation.
Okay. Arti.
Yes.
It's partly fictional. It's not really 100% fictional. Don't forget the Sai Baba story. That's a real fact.
Yes. So, but he's taken the inspiration from those stories,
Yeah, but it's part of history now.
Right. Okay.
The Sai Baba thing. That's reality. Part of reality.
Right.
But he made it fictional in the end, but the principle is factual.
Yes. I'm very happy to see you here today, and to know that you're his son and you're taking part and getting the book out there.
I appreciate all you all doing to help.
He was our friend, he was our
Yeah,
friend.
I know. I remember on Sundays when I called him when I was in Florida.
Yes.
Certain time he can't talk. He said, "Oh, I have a Zoom meeting with his friends, with his books and his friends," and I realized how special it was for him.
Yes.
So I respect all you guys, and I wish you all the best health and strength.
Yeah, all the best to you too.
Yeah, thank you.
And give our love to your mom. We know she was quiet in the background, but we do know that she, all the the qualities of her husband, the charm, the generosity, and all that. It also comes from her.
Yeah, well, remember, life is a passage we all have to face, life and
Yes.
death, and the passage of that cycle.
Yes, indeed.
So I mean, it's tough, but what are you
Okay.
gonna do? Time heals everything. In
Yes.
time.
Okay. Thank you, Zeus and RT,
Yes.
and I see Anna is here also, and I know we'll be hearing from her later on in the program. But right now, if there's anybody else who want to say anything at this time, or shall we move along? Okay, moving right along. Our next presenter is Althea and Althea Mark Romeo, and Althea would be reading Sydney's pregnancy. As I said, the plot thickens.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Althea.
Yeah. So extract 7, Cindy's pregnancy.
Vish, can I interrupt you? Muti?
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw Willard was supposed to be next.
Yeah.
And Rohini.
I thought so myself.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, we need to go.
Yeah,
on.
just
Thank
make
you,
that
thank you,
correction,
Vishnu.
please.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Althea. So we'd have
Althea, you will come back.
Gopal would be reading extract 6, Cindy and Roji. Thank you for that observation, Vish.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's start your video.
Yes, yes, good afternoon. Sorry about the delay. Thank you, Mr. B, and good afternoon to all participants. Just want to say this, I unfortunately never got the chance to meet Mr. Narayan, but, beginning with the comments of Ms. Janki and meeting his son, my condolences to you and your family. I'm so impressed by his works, his life and his works. And I'm really sorry. I haven't read much of his works, but I'm so impressed with this piece of work. So without further ado, I was asked to read the 6th extract. Please bear with me. I'm reading from the email. I'm not very savvy. So it goes like this. Just get the beginning. Yes. So the extract 6 entitled. Are you hearing me, by the way?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay. It's entitled Cindy and Rohini. And it goes like this. Later, Mama came home to a clean house. I tried to assist in the cooking, but she would have none of it. Son, she said, go and do your studies. I am so proud of you. Your place is not in the kitchen. Mama, I said, in glowing terms, you are the best mother, and I am very proud of you. In the absence of my father, you took care of me all by yourself. Don't worry, Saha, she said in a solemn voice. God is with us all the time. True, there was irony in her words. A mother always thinks about her child. Mama and I ate together. As usual, the dinner was great. Now tell me, said Mama, what is your intention with that girl, Cindy? Mama confronted me with a huge question. I could not back down. Mama, I began as I chewed my food. Did I tell you the reason why I went to India? No, you didn't. Well, I said, there was this girl from India and who seemed to like me a lot. Really? Interrupted Mama. Yes, I continued. She invited me to her home in India where I met her parents. They asked me to marry the girl. And what did you tell them? She urgently asked. I declined, saying I must have your permission first and that I am too young to marry. Well, she commented, that's putting it very well. And what is that girl's name? Rohini. Oh, said Mama, Cindy expects you to marry her, and I expect you to do just that. You must not disappoint Cindy. She loves you very much and she is crazy about you. Foreign girls have cultures and you may not be in agreement with some of them. Mama was quite right. Even Rohini's food is very different from ours. I thought for a while, but life in the subcontinent could be challenging and very interesting. There is no speed limit on the roads in India, and Tuesday is the rest day instead of Sunday. India has not adopted those two aspects of the English system, although they had ruled that country for about 2 centuries. Cindy had been a regular visitor to my residence for many years, and everyone in the village knew about our relationship. Consequently, it had been a foregone conclusion that one day in the not too distant future, wedding bells would be ringing to proclaim our union. Cindy's parents encouraged the relationship, and never once did they stop her from visiting my home. I am going to visit Saha. That was all she would say and walk away. And her mother would say, okay. But the invoice had already warned me about any intimacy with the young woman. Nevertheless, my invulnerability would be shattered by Cindy's advances. When alone and without supervision, young people get carried away and do such things that human beings were created for. Cindy was the belle of the village and would wear revealing clothes and expensive perfume to entice me in the absence of Mama. She would comb my long hair and massage my head. Then I would become drowsy and very susceptible to her advances. One day, I was alone and working on the computer. Saha, she said, remember that day in the infant class after you sang that beautiful song? I told Miss that when I grow up, I would marry you. Yes, I remember that quite well. We both laughed. Little girls can say foolish and pretty things, I commented. And that's foolish. And what's foolish about that, eh? Asked Cindy in raised tones. Tell me, what's foolish about that, mister? I became silent and searched for the right words. Oh, I was just joking, my lovely woman, I said. Well, said Cindy, I am now grown up and I know what I want. And what I want is well within my reach. Cindy grabbed me from behind and bit me on the ear. Oh, you crazy woman, I shouted, and I shut down the computer. And that incident led to further entanglement. Again, Cindy brought up the subject of my visit to India, and she was so persistent, I told her the truth. So, said Cindy, tell me about this Rohini. Is she prettier than I am? No, I was quick to respond. My dear Cindy, you are far prettier than Rohini. I spoke a little white lie to extricate myself from the bubble, as the situation could have become quite nasty. You see, Cindy, I said. You see, Cindy, I said, Rohini's parents paid all my expenses to India. And it is a fact that they thought that I was a very good match for their daughter. Listen to me, young man, said Cindy in a stern voice with some anger. Your perfect match is in your face right now. There is nobody else in the world who can love you as much as I do. So let that sink in your thick skull, understand? I smiled and said, you are very pretty when angry. You are smiling? She in statement form. But I am dead serious. Rohini can go to hell for my part. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can separate you from me. Since I was a child, I had my eyes on you, and I am more focused on you now. And that is a fact. I said, don't be upset, my dear. I said in a cool voice. I will always be here for you. You chose me, and I shall reciprocate. Cindy was all smiles again. So, you promised to marry me when you finish studying abroad? Asked Cindy. I do. That's what people say when they are getting married, corrected Cindy. Did you just utter a marriage vow? Listen, Sarah, we can get married before you go back to the USA. We can have a small, simple ceremony. Let's not complicate things there, I said. I promise to formalize things when I return. Cindy became serious. I knew she was disappointed with my statement. I smiled again. Cindy sat next to me, grabbed me by the neck, and bit me. She whispered, I trust that you will keep your promise. Oh. My word is a vow, I said. It's a solemn promise. I just hope so, she said. Said the invoice. Saha, let me give you good advice. I strongly advise you to break off with Rohini quickly. Her parents want you to live in India, and you will be very uncomfortable there. It would be a folly to do so. You must go back home and marry Cindy as planned. She is waiting for you with open arms. I knew what I had to do then. It was about 5 p.m. after class when Rohini came to my room. While she sat on a chair, I sat on the edge of the bed. We were both adults, and males were accustomed to visit females and vice versa. As such, there was no hard and fast rules on the campus. How was your lecture today? I asked. Oh, she replied, good and sometimes boring. You know, the usual thing. Yes, I said, I understand. One has to undergo such discipline and tolerance to master a subject. Schools are for teaching and learning, discipline and training. Yes, I guess so, replied Rohini. You know, Saha, India had universities thousands of years ago, and students from all over the world went there to be trained in various areas, even in science, technology, and medicine. Now, Indians are leaving their country to study in the West. Well, times have changed, I observed. Saha, said Rohini, it is time we have a one-to-one chat about our relationship. I believe you are trying to avoid me. I said nothing for a few moments. Rohini was quite right, and I was avoiding her. Why don't you say something? She inquired. I spoke. Rohini, you must have observed my long hair. It has never been cut, and for a very good reason. And I don't eat flesh, also for a very good reason. And for what reason do you do these things? She inquired. I am a highly spiritual person, and I can't divulge anything more to you. And does that mean you can't have a woman? She asked. I see you are winning so many medals and getting accolades and accepting them. That is not the mark of a spiritual person. I have read of many highly spiritual men who had wives and children. True, I said. The stark truth had to be told. Rohini, I began, I must be frank. I paused. She was silent, waiting. Well, said she, be frank and speak up. Rohini, I said, I have a woman at home and I have promised to marry her. The earth seemed to be frozen in orbit. The hands on the clock moved in slow motion. Rohini was stunned. Her intellect acted very slowly to interpret the message. Then the fury of a woman exploded. You son of a bitch, she yelled. Why didn't you tell me that now, before now? And my father paid so much money for you to travel to India? A volley of expletives was spewed in her native language. I was shocked. She began to throw books at me. I parried the hits with my hands. She sprang on me and with playing hands, firing blows at me. I opened the door and tried to escape. We landed on a grassy plot, she on top of me and screaming. I held her hands tightly and she was fighting like a tigress. Rohini was totally out of control. The commotion attracted many students, and the campus guard came running, and she intervened. She pulled her off me. Rohini fought with the guard, but was restrained by the two of them. She was still screaming at the top of her voice, and she was taken away. I suffered a few cuts on my forearms and was attended to at the sick bay. Plasters were placed to avoid further bleeding. I was told that Rohini was given a sedative. I did not anticipate such a violent reaction on Rohini's part. I did not believe that sweet little Rohini could have behaved in such a manner. It meant that she had great expectations of a very close relationship with me, leading to marriage. I could not forsake Cindy, for she was my childhood sweetheart. The invoice strongly advised that should I wish to be wed, I must choose Cindy because of a love affair in a previous birth and because of our interlocking karmas. That unfortunate incident meant the end of our relationship, or so I thought. Our paths crossed the next day, and when Rohini saw me, she was in tears. I felt so sorry and wanted to console her with a hug, but I resisted. Rohini was very apologetic because of her terrible outburst that day. Are we still friends? She asked. Sure, I replied. No hard feelings? She asked and smiled, but it was a forced smile. No hard feelings. She said, I'm sorry for my behavior, but it was because of my great disappointment. It was a brief meeting and few words were spoken. Maybe I was part of the problem. My life is my karma. What life throws at you is not of your making, but how you react to it is up to you. Human emotions are fragile. Human nature is such that there are differences in reaction to different situations, even among the best of men, and of course, women. The end. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Bullet. You know, that was indeed a dramatic and theatrical reading. That piece was
Indeed,
chosen
indeed. Very
especially for
well.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, it did very well
You
put
know, and
across.
I want to mention that, you know, Willard was a little, not too long ago, was one of our top local Trinidad actors. And I want to just share a little secret, you know. We have some new plays coming on, and we'll be seeing Willard on the stage again soon. So Willard, once more, thank you. And moving right along, Cynthia, sorry for
You're
that little
welcome.
mix-up now, but we now move on to extract number 7. Althea would read Cindy's pregnancy. Take it away, Althea.
Okay, extract 7, Cindy's pregnancy. Life continued after Rohini and her emotional outburst. I had hoped that the incident would soon be forgotten and things would return to normalcy. But it all depended on the individual. That night, I was unable to meet with my guru because of my mental state and the voice laughed at me. Be careful. You get swell-headed. Ha ha. Next day, Cindy called. It was heartening to hear her voice. Hi, Bates, she said. Her voice sounded musical, as if expressing joy. It's great to hear your voice, I said. How is everything? She inquired. Just fine, I replied, but it was not. It would have been madness for me to tell Cindy of the Rohini episode. Only she would have liked the outcome, but there would have been too much explaining to do. And how are you and Mama? I asked. Your Mama is doing well, and I am good for the time being, but I miss you so much. I need you to hurry up and come home before something happens. Something like what? I queried. Oh, nothing, was the reply. You know, I feel good when you are at my side and I can touch you. Don't worry, dear, I said. I shall be home before you know it. Said Cindy, then hurry up and come home. Time seems to be dragging its feet. We chatted a few minutes more, and the lovers' conversation ended. I pondered about what Cindy said. Was there a hidden message? We discussed matters openly, and there were no secrets. It had been over a month since I had left home and was very much occupied with my task at hand. The phone rang. It was Mama, and I was glad to hear her voice. Saha, said Mama, I have some very important and breaking news for you. What is that breaking news? I thought. I was silent for a few moments. Mama, I said, wondering, what are you talking about? Well, she said, it seems that Cindy is pregnant. Pregnant? I repeated. Yes, she told me she has noticed all the signs of pregnancy, only that it has not yet been confirmed by a doctor, and you are the only boyfriend she has. Yes, Ma, I said, I must confess that if she is really pregnant, then I am responsible for her being so. Well, said Mama, I'm glad to hear that. Now, I'm thinking about the baby and your education. Don't worry too much, Mama, I consoled her. There is a solution to every problem. It is my problem, not yours. You should not worry. Son, she said, your problems are mine also. You may have come back home too soon. Yes, Mama, I said. If such is the case, you must know that I can't forsake Cindy. She has loved me from day one. I shall return soon. And, continued Mama, you must know that her parents are happy that she's pregnant, knowing that you are the father. God bless you always, Saha, said Mama. The call ended. I wondered why Cindy did not tell me such an important thing. That was big news. If she did not call, I would call the following night. She had given me a hint during the last phone call, but I did not pay attention. As I lay on my bed, the invoice spoke. Now, Siha, you are in a situation from which you can't back down. The honorable thing to do now is to go back home and marry Cindy. It is you who got her pregnant. When it is time, fly back home. You understand? Sure, was my response, in good time. The next night I called Cindy. Cindy, I said, why didn't you call me and tell me the good news? I shouldn't be hearing it from my mother. I'm sorry, babes, she said. I didn't want to worry you as you are doing so much studies. But are you certain of the pregnancy? I asked. Well, said Cindy, I'm not 100% certain, but my bodily functions have changed and I feel different. But you can't hide such an important thing from me since it involves me so much. I love you dearly, Cindy. Saha, she confessed, you know very well how much I love you. You can't imagine the depth of my love for you. I know. Give me some time here, and I'll be homeward bound, oh Cindy. I wish you were here now, she said. I need a hug right now, but now you can't be here at this time. I need to do some important things here, and as soon as they are completed, I shall fly back home. I miss you a whole lot, babes, said Cindy. God will take care of you, and I love you very much. God bless you, were my parting words. Mama was there at the airport with her nephew Ramesh. Her uncle had given him that responsibility. Cindy did not accompany them due to her advanced state of pregnancy, but she was well, I was told. After a brief warm meeting, my cousin Ramesh sped all the way home. It was another long, tiring drive. Cindy was up and waiting. I was amazed at her huge tummy. We hugged in tears. I am so happy you are home, babes, she said. You don't know how much I missed you. I miss you too, dearie. It's the reason why I cut short my term at college. After eating, we retired for the night. I'm going to have a girl, Cindy announced. Are you happy? Very happy, I replied. Boy or girl, it does not matter to me once you have a safe delivery. The doctor told me I am due next week, Cindy continued. Well, I said, I shall make arrangements for you to go to a private hospital. Are you sure? She asked. Yes, tomorrow I shall call the hospital. Okay, if you say so, she said. That night, the invoice spoke. You have time to marry that girl before the baby is born, Saha. I could not ignore that order. Bright and early next morning, I told Cindy of our intended wedding. She was all smiles but her condition caused some discomfort. Mama was also in agreement. Saha, she said, there is a little problem. And what's that? I asked. Cindy's pregnancy, she said. When the pundit sees her condition, he might not want to perform the ceremony. Cindy was on maternity leave, and Mama had quit her job at the hardware store. Mama, I said, you should still go to meet with the pundit and explain the situation. Of course, she said. I'm going today, and if you want to marry Cindy before the baby comes, you must be ready by tomorrow. And you don't have time to buy special wedding clothes. You must have a simple wedding ceremony at home. Cindy lay on the couch and said nothing. She was totally in favor of the quickie wedding. Cindy smiled. You remember, Saha, when we were in the infant class, I told Miss I would marry you when I grow up. Well, husband, the time is here. I smiled. I remembered. Mama made breakfast and we ate, tasty as usual. Then she left to meet with the pundit and to arrange for the marriage ceremony. Later, I called a reputable private hospital to make arrangements for Cindy to give birth there. When I told the receptionist my name, she asked, are you Sahadeo Singh, the world famous guy? I laughed. I think so. You are being very modest, sir, she said. We'd love to treat your wife at our facility and to deliver your baby. This is great news for our hospital, and I shall inform every member of our staff. I shall be happy to meet with you. My name is Veronica. Thank you most kindly, Miss Veronica. And you are most welcome, Mr. Singh. I could not prevent her from being so anxious to treat Cindy there and to spread the news. While the fee was costly, I would like Cindy to have the best care. Well, one matter is taken care of. Mama was out. I took over the preparation of lunch as Cindy was in no condition to help. I prepared a vegetarian dish with lots of vegetables and rice. In addition, there were some special nutritional drinks for Cindy as she had to eat for two. She was in bed reading a book and listening to soft classical music, which is good for the unborn child. Later, Mama arrived with the good news that the pundit would perform the marriage ceremony the next day. The pundit was reluctant to do so, but when he heard of the name Sahadeo Singh, he had a quick change of mind. It seemed that my name had a magical effect. The end of my portion.
Thank you, Althea. That was indeed a wonderful read. But we have to hurry up and moving right along. Our next reader is Heather Laltu Ferguson, and Heather would be reading Extract 8, Baby Sitara. Take it away, Heather.
Thank you. Baby Sitara, Extract 8. Cindy experienced some discomfort, but was in a good frame of mind as she was in the company of loved ones. Meanwhile, the driver sped along the way as there was little traffic on the road. As the driver turned a corner, he had to slow down and stop at the police roadblock. "And where are you going with all that speed, young man?" asked the cop as he flashed a light inside the car. "Hospital," said Ram. "We have an emergency here. The baby is due any minute." The policeman looked carefully at us and my wife. He was armed with a machine gun, and so were the others on duty. "You look like Sahadu Singh, sir," observed the policeman. "Okay, go ahead, but drive carefully." We went on our way. Said Ram, "Everybody seemed to know you, Saha." I made no comment. Cindy was having more pains and was very uncomfortable. About an hour later, we arrived at the destination and were quickly attended to by the nurses. Immediately, Cindy was wheeled into a private room for prompt attention. There was nothing more for us to do. She was in the care of professionals at the private health institution. We were asked to leave and return the following day to see Cindy and to take care of the bill. It was another emotional part, and the doctor and nurses had a very important role to play, and that was to assist in bringing a new life into this world. Ram took us home safely, but he checked his driving speed. Mama footed the bill that was due to Ram, and the next day I went to the bank to withdraw from my savings from the US account. Mama wanted to pay that bill also, but I refused. Later in the morning, I traveled to the hospital to visit Cindy and to settle the account. When I arrived, I was told she had the baby the same night, and I asked to see both mother and child. Miss Veronica was there and took me to Cindy's room. It was a wonderful sight. Cindy was nursing a sweet little darling. I kissed both mother and child. That was a unique and emotional experience. Boy, oh boy, the baby was the cutest thing I had ever seen. It was one of the best days of my life. I left them to visit the office. I was told that Cindy must spend another day to ensure that everything was okay. "Well, Mrs. Singh," said the accounts clerk, "we are happy to give your wife the best care. And for being such a famous figure, the management is giving you a 10% discount. Isn't that great? It's just a way to show some appreciation." "Sure," I said, "and I thank you all most kindly for such generosity." "Don't mention it at all," she said. "We are happy to do so." I paid the bill in full. Then I returned to the room where Cindy was and chatted for a while. The baby was asleep. It was my intention to have an ensuite bedroom, and I mentioned it to Cindy. She was overjoyed about the idea, especially with the baby around. "Well, dear husband," asked Cindy, "are you satisfied with the baby we brought forth into this world?" "Yes, dear wife," I said in reply. "I am totally satisfied with our little angel." "I am so happy to hear that," said Cindy contentedly. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Quite good," was her answer. "They said you must spend one more day here," I mentioned. "Why is that so?" Cindy asked. "Just to make sure there are no complications." "But I would like to go home now," she complained. I said, "We have to follow their rules." "Well, it's only one more day. By the way, did you find a suitable name for our little darling?" "Yes," I replied. "I got a unique name. It is Sitara." "Sitara, Sitara," repeated Cindy. "It has a nice sound." I asked, "Do you like the name?" "It's very beautiful," said Cindy. "I love the name." I spent more time with mother and child until a doctor came to check up on them. I left after telling Cindy that I would be back the following day to take them home. "Come early in the morning," she said. On my way out, one of the doctors met me and we had a little conversation. "Why didn't you study medicine?" he asked. "You would have made an excellent doctor." "I don't think I had the discipline to be a doctor," I replied. "Being a doctor has lots of benefits," he said with confidence. "Yes, I know. I chose a different field." "You are such a brilliant young man," said the doctor, "but you choose what you like." I laughed and I thought about what he said. I had read some medical books, but I was not cut out for that field. I could not be tied down to an office. I had a creative and inventive mind, and the walls of an office was phobic. I traveled all the way to my little hometown and to home. Mama had cooked a nice lunch and I enjoyed it. I informed her that all was well with Cindy and the baby, and we would bring them home the following day. Mama had brought more baby things. I called the taxi driver, Ram, and asked him whether he was willing to take us back to the hospital the following day. He readily agreed. That night, the invoice spoke. Well, Saha, things are going nicely. Now you have a wife and a baby. It is your duty to take care of them. During my meditation session, my guru gave me some very useful advice. Saha, in this world you must work and accumulate some wealth to live by. Soon a reporter will pay you a visit on behalf of his newspaper for your biography. Cooperate with him. So far you have done exceedingly well. Your story is excellent material for a newspaper, and you will be rewarded. Later, I shall reveal some other details which must be undertaken to sustain Cindy, Sahara, Mama, and yourself. Now, while you are accumulating wealth, it is incumbent on you to give back some as charity. I prostrated at his feet. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. That was a lovely read, and you're bringing life to the story. Okay, and as we move along, our next reader is Cassie Sengo, and Cassie will read extract number 9, Bonanza. Come in, Cassie.
That night, the invoice gave me a directive. Saha, there is a foreign oil company in search of oil on the East Coast, and it has been unsuccessful so far. I shall give you some coordinates where a sizable amount of oil is to be found in the ocean floor. Go to the manager and speak to him about this matter. He will be very interested. Here are the coordinates for the reservoir for the oil at sea. By the way, do not make any extension to your home yet. That morning, I bought a newspaper and, not to my surprise, my photograph was staring at me on the front page. It featured the first of the three-part series of my life story so far. I flipped the pages and found the section with the oil company that was searching, exploring for oil in the East Coast. I called the company, based in Port of Spain. The secretary answered. The manager was busy, and I left my number as requested. I mentioned that it was very important. I took the newspaper home, and everyone was excited about the story. It made very good reading. Later in the day, another reporter called and asked for a special interview. I declined, saying that it would not make sense, as I already had given my story to another newspaper. It was too late. Another call came from the oil company. Is this Mr. Sahadio Singh? Asked the secretary. Yes, I replied. This is he. Hold up. You may speak with the manager, she said. Mr. Singh, said the manly voice at the other end with a foreign accent. Are you the same person who is featured in the newspapers today? Yes, I replied. Well, said the manager, that is a great story about yourself. And what important news do you have for Mr. Singh? I know you are here to explore for oil, and so far you have not been successful. But I have some good news for you. Are you a petroleum engineer, sir? He asked. No, sir, I replied. Then how can you assist in my business venture? He asked. Well, if we can meet face to face, I can tell you exactly where a large reservoir of oil is located, I said. Okay, said he. Can you come to Port of Spain tomorrow? Asked the manager. That would be fine, I said. Then I shall see you tomorrow, said the manager, finally. Well, I should be in the capital and the next day to meet with the manager of that foreign oil company. The invoice had never been wrong, but in my mind, there lingered a tiny doubt about the accuracy of the reservoir of crude. That night, I was confronted by the invoice. Sahar, I have never been wrong. Why the doubt now? Please forgive me, I pleaded. I was not too familiar with the road in the city, but it was not too difficult to get there. The office of the company was situated in a huge building in St. Anne's. I parked my car at the roundabout and walked to the entrance. Later, I was ushered into a large office with 3 occupants, presumably the manager, the secretary, and another official. Ah, Mr. Singh, said the manager. He was a tall man, big at the waist, but he was an amiable gentleman. Please have a seat, he continued. This is my secretary and my engineer. You seem to have something very important to tell us. My engineer here could not strike oil. That's why he is so interested. Please give us the good news, as you mentioned. I began. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you, the senior officials of this company. I know you have been involved in oil exploration in Block 51 and have been unsuccessful so far. I am listening. Go ahead, said the manager. Well, I continued, I can give you some coordinates at which location you can find a substantial quantity of oil. And how did you arrive at the coordinates? Asked the secretary. It's a secret, I said. Okay, said the engineer. Tell us the coordinates. I revealed to them the latitude and longitude. Both the secretary and the engineer wrote it down. Mr. Singh asked the manager, are you certain that we will find a substantial amount of oil at this exact location? I'm certain of it, I said with confidence. But I still would like to know how you arrived at these coordinates, said the engineer in bewilderment. And you expect to be compensated after we discover that precious liquid at the location, said the secretary with a smile. And I smiled too. As the discussion ended, they all shook hands with me and promised to get in touch at the appropriate time. It was a fruitful meeting, but the company's senior personnel was skeptical about the oil find. After further discussions with other members, it was decided to go ahead and install a rig at the designated coordinates. I got into my car, negotiated it around the Sinclair roundabout, and headed up Ladion Road. It was the easiest route out of the capital in order to avoid too much traffic. Driving in the city and highway needed lots of discipline and patience. I made my way home safe and sound, but I was exhausted. The car performed very well on the long journey. The invoice interrupted. Don't worry, Sahar. The company will soon set up a rig and a very large reservoir of oil will be discovered. I was relieved and I thanked him. Baby Sitara, I could not be too tired to pay attention to her. I took her and smothered her with kisses. Don't kiss the baby too much, warned Cindy, smiling. And how did it go? Asked Cindy. My baby comes first in all matters. Love, food, clothing. Observe a documentary with lions. The females do the hunting, and when they make a kill, the male eats first. Then the females, then the cubs get the scraps. This is so because of evolution. Because we are at the apex in the animal kingdom and highly evolved, babies and women get preference. So far, so good, I replied. Everything went well, I guess. It's up to them to make their move. Come, said Mama, let's eat. I know you must be hungry. We went inside. Sitara was uttering baby noises, and I was famished. Food sustains the body and keeps the body and soul together. My family was happy and quite contented. That night, during meditation, my guru gave me insights of many things and mentioned a special book. I would be told more about that book at a later date. Baby Sitara was developing very well. Cindy's leave was almost up, and she was preparing to return to work. Mama and I would have to take care of the baby in her absence. Mama was only too happy to do so. That same day, when Cindy returned to work, I received a call from the oil company. The secretary called. Mr. Singh, I am pleased to inform you that my company has found a significant amount of oil using your coordinates. You should be very happy. A check is being prepared for you, and it's quite a substantial amount. Thank you so much for the good news, I said. I shall contact you further, she said. Well, that was good news. I informed the mama, and she was very happy, while the cutie made gurgling songs as if she understood what was happening. When Cindy returned from work, she was very excited about the news, but it had already made headline news in the media. Within 2 weeks, I had to return to Portersdale to visit the company and collect a check. It was a whooping sum of US $250,000. I had to sign a few documents and again shook hands with the manager and secretary. It is a very large discovery, Mr. Singh, and I thank you for your services. I hope the money is sufficient. Very much so, I replied. Thank you so much. Have a great day, Mr. Singh, said the secretary. And you all too, I said on departing. Some people believe that money is an evil thing, but greed for it can lead one to hellish regions. Things in life are not free. One must earn money to buy the necessary things to sustain life. Donating to charity is a desirable aspect of having wealth. Ease the burden of others, and in turn, yours will be lighter. Whether this is moral or spiritual, it does not matter. Those who share their material wealth live happier lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. That was a wonderful read. And seeing that we pressed for time, we'll move on immediately to Krishna Samaru. And Krishna will be reading
Mot, let's just
My
have a little,
Parting Words.
Muti, let's have a little
Yeah.
adjustment here in the schedule. I'd like you to go on with your piece, My Book, and I will come on last, and I will just do the overview. I wouldn't read from the book.
Okay,
Right?
Krish, also Anna, Harry's daughter,
Yeah,
would
I'm
like to
seeing.
address us also. So I think that we should just do the overview and let Anna address us.
Huh? You want to do the
overview, and then we'd chat a
and
bit
your,
with Anna.
all right. And your piece.
Well,
press for time.
we'd have to leave that for another time, because so far that the way you have arranged the pieces, we all have a good idea what the book is about.
All right. Okay.
Let's go with
all right.
The overview.
The overview. Okay.
Krishna.
All right. I want to put the publication of this book within a certain context. To me, there seems to be a mini literary renaissance of sorts quietly taking place beneath the radar of mainstream media in Trinidad. And it has to do with the outpouring, the output or flowering, rather, of a series of published works by individuals who are intricately linked with each other. Say the name Motilal Budu Singh, add Arati Janki, add V. Ramsamuj Gosai, include Haricharan Narayan, bring in Heather Laltu Ferguson, rope in Frank Mohan, throw in Krishna Samaru for good measure. Together, these writers have produced within the past few years a number of books. Now, a common link with them is that they are all active members of a literary group founded by Gersha Mahabir. Poetry and Prose Open Mic is the name of the group. The group produced in 2023 an anthology of works, poetry and prose by its members. That book was called Musings in a Tea Shop. Motilal Budu Singh has 4 collections of narratives, which you can call the Kahani series. V. Ramsamuj Gosai recently launched his novel, Sonia, a novel. Heather Laltu Ferguson has Cersei's Dance and Other Stories. Frank Mohan has Love Has Two Moons. Arati Janki also recently launched Heartstrings, The Legacy. And yours truly has Ruminations, a book of sonnets to follow last days of class. And now we have the posthumous publication of Haricharan Narayan's The Cosmic Child. That is the context in which I wanted to place this publication. The Cosmic Child is Haricharan Narayan's 4th published book. It was preceded in 2022 by The Big Fisherman, a Mayaro love story. Now, there is an admixture in this work of fantasy, science fiction, religion, mythology, philosophy, ideology, romance, and realism. One might even include magical realism that make it difficult to pigeonhole the book into any particular genre. The cover, which was well done, and it contains a photo of his grandson, Kavi Kanhai. The cover declares that the book is, quote, a unique and fantastic love story of Saha and Cindy as they grow up from childhood to adulthood. And that is what the bulk of the readings had to focused on, right? Now, one can make a strong case for this interpretation. In just chapter 2, as we are constantly told throughout the novel. Dealing with infant years, Cindy declares to her teacher that when she grows up, she's going to marry Saha. 2 chapters later, Saha is informed by Invoice, the voice he hears within, that Cindy was his wife in a past life. And if he wished to marry, as they had pledged undying love for each other in the past, then he must choose Cindy as his wife. Now, when other girls come into his sphere of attraction and influence, particularly the girl from India, Rohini, whom he meets at the university in the United States, where he went to pursue his tertiary education, and to a lesser extent, another girl, Jessie, the young and pretty librarian from the San Fernando Library, Saha is instructed by Invoice, forget these girls, marry Cindy. When Saha learns from his mother that Cindy is pregnant with his child, he leaves the United States, returns home, and at a secret wedding ceremony, united their past and present lives. Now that is one level, it's a surface level to me, on which you can find interest in this book. But the greater interest, as Haricharan's son was indicating, alluding to a while ago, the greater interest of this novel, on another plane, as it were, is the mysticism tied to the life of the protagonist, Sahadev Singh. The significance of his name is made in the penultimate chapter. Sahadev is the name of one of the Pandava brothers from the Hindu epic, the Mahabharata. Singh is the Hindi word for lion, and this is associated, according to Haricharan, with the warrior class in India. We know definitely the Sikhs from the Punjab region. A lot of them carry the surname Singh. And like a Sikh, Saha has long hair, which cannot be cut. And as a devout Hindu, he's a vegetarian. Saha's mother, and Saha is told by the Invoice that his mother is reincarnated also. She was his nanny from his past life. She has a mystical experience one morning around 5 a.m. in which she sees her son, aged 10, sitting on the bed, motionless, with what appeared to be a constellation of stars and planets, just like in the cover, swirling around his head. She wonders if her son is a divine child. Later, in the final chapter of the novel, that experience is reprised with Cindy, his wife this time, who tells him that while he was meditating one night, she saw a whole galaxy of planets and stars swirling around his head. And she comes to the conclusion that he is a little god. Now, it is the Cindy that Saha declares he is the cosmic child. His revered guru told him that the children of the world are sleeping, and it was his duty, his task, his mission to awaken their spirit. From early, Saha begins to hear and obey an inner voice, later shortened in the work to Invoice. As he grows, he becomes more attuned to this invoice, which a reader can believe as a sixth sense, ESP. It is this invoice which directs him to act in ways that he is hailed for his exploits wherever he goes and whatever he does, as a hero or a superhero or a superman. He follows the dictates of the invoice to excel as an intellectual at secondary and particularly at the tertiary level, receiving in record time his bachelor's and master's degrees. As well as he excelled also as a sportsman, note his prowess at football and swimming, leading to historic triumphs for his teams and institutions. And even when he learned the game of chess, he excelled in that activity. Now, in terms of his intellectual prowess, it is his guru who is the master behind his words, whether verbal or scribal. The guru he encounters when he was transported to a different plane of existence while meditating one morning at 3 a.m. The guru is dressed in flowing saffron-colored robe, reminiscent, as the son just said, of Satya Sai Baba. Later, when he returns to India promoting his book, A Cosmic Journey, he meets a Swami dressed in similar outfit, and from what the Swami divulges, he wonders if it was just a chance meeting. In the closing chapter, Saha has a mystical experience in which his revered guru, bearded with flowing hair, appears before him, and as he bows to the image, Saha is struck on the forehead by a bright light that shot out from the guru, who then vanishes into thin air. Now, with all of that, what you might call science fiction, you wonder what is the setting of this novel, of this work. To have an idea of the book's setting in terms of time and place, one has to infer from details scattered throughout the chapters. Chapter 17, I came across the word village. You could double check that. Saha's mama works at a nearby hardware store owned by her uncle. When Saha passes his driving test in that same chapter, he's handed the keys to a Datsun owned by the mother's uncle. Later, he acquires a Toyota SUV. One evening, sitting on the front steps of his home, he hears a flock of macaws passing overhead. On the trees in his yard were kitskiddies, tanagers, sikies, and wrens. Wrens is what you call the cucarachet, right? A neighbor's rooster often came into his yard. In primary school for religious education, he related stories of Ram and Krishna seen on TV, and he led the class in the singing of bhajans. When Saha was 10, he sat SEA. For success at SEA, Saha received a computer and an expensive phone. Now, SEA replaced CE in 2001. So I'm saying these are the kind of things that give you a sense of time and place in this work. And CSEC and CAPE followed. CAPE was started just before the turn of the century in 1998. Saha was not yet 18 when he had completed CAPE. So perhaps Haricharan, aiming at transcending the provincial, meant for the principal setting of his book to be intentionally vague. But if you say Mayaro, the rural village of Mayaro, at a little after the turn of the century, I don't think you'd be missing the mark. Of course, there is the move to one of the top universities in the USA, which again is not named, neither is the state or province, where the bright boy from the Caribbean encounters a student population of mixed ethnicities. And then he goes on a brief sojourn upon the invitation of Rohini's father to India, his ancestral homeland. Later, he makes a return visit to India after the rave reviews of his book as part of an itinerary involving taking up invitations to lecture at several universities from the United States, England, and Scotland, France, Spain, Germany, and Tokyo. So what we see is the setting moving from the narrow confines of a rural district and widening to encompass the world, as it were. 3 continents, definitely, Europe, Asia, and America. Now, towards the close of the book, there are 3 events which I sense are linked with the dreams of the author. I am going out on a limb here, but from what the son just said, I don't think it is that risky. I could be dead wrong, but the temptation is great. First, there is the oil bonanza that Cassie just read about, that Saha helps bring about. To me, this is like Haricharan's hope for this country, Trinidad and Tobago, to enjoy unlimited wealth so that it could realize its dream of becoming a developed state, a la Vision 2020. Remember, they were saying that at that time, right? That we're moving towards developed status. Saha provides a foreign oil company exploring for oil on the East Coast via Guayari, with the coordinates to discover a substantial quantity of oil. As a reward, Saha gets from the company a check for a whopping 250,000 US. Then that's one. Then there is the book, or what I call the book within the book, entitled A Cosmic Journey. I do not think it is accidental that there are 18 chapters to this book. That is what Moti was going to read, right? It recalls the structure of the Hindu scriptural text, the Bhagavad Gita, which comprises 18 chapters. And the Gita itself is a section of the Hindu epic, the Mahabharata. Now, like the Gita, Haricharan's A Cosmic Journey turns out to be a philosophical treatise with topics treated such as karma, death, and reincarnation, to just mention three. Within 1 year of its publication, 1 million copies of this book, A Cosmic Journey, were sold. And that, we are told, the only other book that surpassed The Cosmic Journey was the Bible. So isn't it tempting to add that perhaps the success of the book in terms of fame and fortune was one of Haricharan's personal dream realized in fictional form? That's why I say I'm going out on a limb, but they could crucify me for this. But what I deem as the book's greatest thrust, with a little knowledge of the author's life, is Haricharan Narayan getting into the content of The Cosmic Child, chapter 15, some of the things he wanted to say to us directly before he took his last farewell. That is what I was supposed to read, right? His last words. Fittingly, it is called My Parting Words. Ostensibly, they are the last words he leaves the United States and his experience at the university therewith. But I wish to infer that they were Haricharan's final words to us before his demise. This is a book, to conclude, this is a book that can appeal to all ages. It is entertaining as a sort of sci-fi book about an individual who attains superhero status. The love story with a love triangle, we all love a love triangle edge to it, is a universal phenomenon. The thread of Hindu philosophy, of yoga in particular, gives it an intellectual and spiritual dimension. Now, the narrative voice blends easily with that of the author to give it a strong autobiographical appeal, especially to those close to the heart of Haricharan Narayan. Thank you. Moti.
Thank you.
Brilliant, Krishna.
Thank you, Krishna.
Well, you have to thank Harry. You have to thank Harry.
But thank you for interpreting.
Okay. Thanks, Krish.
Yes, so you could bring in Anna now.
Yes. So we'd like to ask Anna to come in, please, Anna. And let's see.
Let's show you
if I could highlight you.
Anna, this is the son. Mr. Budu Singh, this is the son. Anna can't make it. She can't make it. So she told me to, on behalf of the family, she wanted to thank you all for everything. And that final speech, Mr. Krishna, Mr. Krishna Samaru, that was
Sahadeo boy.
I know, that's why I stopped. I got mixed up with people's name. That was a perfect discourse on that book. Wow, I was like, wow, that is really depth. Really depth. You hit the nail on the head, as I say.
Yeah.
So
okay,
you know, I don't know what else to say. Indeed, I mean, look, can I say something about the book also?
Go ahead.
My father read thousands of spiritual books. I tried my best to follow him in that aspect. So all this book is incorporating all the spiritual books that he read on spiritual people, trying to enlighten his mind and, you know, everything else. So 2 books that I saw, again, he didn't explain this book to me. I was away. I was in Florida. But when I read it, I had an idea what's happening with his mind. And 2 books that's very important. that I saw on his book, the same Satya Sai Baba story. It's on YouTube. This one is on YouTube. You all can look at it also. Man of Miracles, the Satya Sai Baba stories. It's on YouTube. It's very interesting documentary on the prophet. He's a prophet in India, but he died. Man of Miracles, autobiography from Howard Murphy. That's the guy who wrote the book. It's interesting for we all to check that YouTube. And Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yeah, autobiography of a yogi.
Yes, that exactly. Yes. Two very important. But I saw in his book, some stories came from that, and he changed it up, and fictional part of it. So it's very interesting book. I love that book, The Green Days by the River. All his books I love, but
Thank you.
the end book, he tried to help the world and put that map. And the problem is people not listening, people not reading, uneducated people controlling the world, and that's the problem we have. If we had people like you guys from this panel controlling the world, we'd have been in a good place. But practically, it's not like that at all. Only crazy, dumb people controlling, and they make a mess of everything. That's why there's so many crime. The government is in a mess. The world is in a mess. There's wars. Nobody cares. Everything is greed, power, who's better than who, and that's it. That's what's happening.
Okay. Thank
Any
you,
other question?
Bruce. I know this is a emotional time for you,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
And one thing that struck me with this book, and then one of Harry's earlier book, when Harry wrote Days Gone By, and the way he transitioned from Days Gone By, which tells of the past, into this book, this present book, which is futuristic. I am sure that that is how easily Harry must have transitioned from this world to the other world. So I just wanted to put that in.
Yes. Well, he suffered with the cancer and, and things in life, it was not a perfect life. Plenty problems and stress and all these things happened in his life. And it was tough part to deal with. But I guess his book, that was his means of getting away from reality, because living on the earth is not simple at all. You meet good people, you meet bad people, and you have to deal with these people. And it could affect your health in the end. So you have to be very careful. Everyone be careful.
Poetry and Prose was very fortunate to have Harry in our company for the last few years. And we learned a lot from him, and I could assure you that he would always be in our hearts and minds. And I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to feature his work, and we would do something again some other time with some of his other books. I could assure you that he would never be forgotten by Poetry and Prose.
Thank you. Well, you're all part of the family, so whenever you're in Miami, you could always pass by.
Yes, well, yes. I know the house because myself and Vishnu was there
I
for the funeral.
I remember for the funeral, yeah. Thank you. God bless you all and the whole panel.
Thank you. And any comments before we close? Anybody want to say anything? Althea, Vishnu?
I'm just saying good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
It's almost 9:30 p.m. here. So good night to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to say that it's most
yes, go ahead.
enriching experience to hear the readings and the interpretations. Really deeply appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks to everyone for joining us this evening, and we had a wonderful program. It's too bad that we couldn't do all the other readings because there's so much in that book. There's so much about Harry that we could say, but at the same time, we want to thank God for giving us Harry for the short time, and So everybody, have a pleasant day and good evening.
Good
Good
evening to you
afternoon.
too. Thank you
God
all
bless
very much.
everyone. Thanks for everything,
Thank
you all.
you. Nice meeting you.
God bless you all. God
Thank
bless.
you.
God bless.
Same to you.
Take care.
Sairam.
Take care.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Okay.
And one more thing, Vishnu has some of the books. Vishnu bought some of the books to distribute to our people. So reach out to Vishnu if you want to get a copy. Thanks again.
Thank you. God bless. Mr. Vishnu.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mr. B. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks again, everybody. And anything for all. Let me see.